Hi everybody, it's Miranda with Multiplicity Crafts, and today I'm coming to you with a highly requested video for more paper quilling. And so you can see here, this is the piece that I've made today for this project, and it looks rather advanced, but actually a beginner can do this because I am a beginner. Even though I've made a few pieces, I really am considering myself a beginner. So you can see this beautiful piece. You can actually make it like wall art, or you could even put it on the front of a greeting card or hang it from a ribbon. There's so many possibilities for this particular piece. I'm calling it an abstract floral piece. So it's very easy. We're going to begin with these tiny little coils, and we will use the fine metal tip glue that I've used in previous quilling videos, the reverse tweezers. The reason they're called reverse is because their resting position is closed, and then when you squeeze them, they will open. And so that's very important for this particular project. Also, we'll be using the quilling tool, which is very affordable and will last you forever because it's just metal and it's really indestructible, I would say. And so we're going to begin by putting the paper into the quilling tool and just rolling it into a coil. It's very easy. This is beginner friendly. But yet even beginners can make a very advanced looking piece. And this that I'm rolling up, this is just copy paper, but on my actual piece that I made, it was copy paper weight, although it did have a little bit of a design on it. And so once you pull that off of the quilling tool, you'll just want to use your fine metal tip glue and glue the last part of that paper over onto itself, and that way it will stay closed and it will stay in that tight little roll for you. And this is actually what we're going to be making the flowers out of. And once that dries, you have a tiny little cylinder, and this is going to be the component for your little flower. And so anyway, you just want to gather those together, and we'll be gluing those together. And so just put glue on one side of one of your tiny little rolls and place another one next to it. Hold it in place for just a moment to make sure that the glue bonds and that it dries enough to where it's going to hold. And then you're going to add the third piece. And once you construct this and you keep adding the glue and the little rolls, it actually is quite sturdy. It's starting to take shape. And so we're going to continue this process of just gluing them on one by one. Now, as I'm doing this, I want to let you know that I am also going to be covering the other components of the piece that I originally showed you at the beginning of the video. So don't feel that I'm going to leave you hanging on that. I will definitely cover each component, but I thought I would go over this flower first because this is actually, in my opinion, the easiest component of this entire art piece. And so once we have that glued together, you definitely see it taking shape now. It is possible for you to stop at this point and just make half of a circle, and you could do something abstract with that. It doesn't necessarily have to be a complete flower. You can make all different shapes and sizes of shapes, and just make sure that you're using the same length and width of paper for each, and that way it'll all be uniform and it'll look very nice when you have your piece completed. So once we have these all glued on, you can see we have a perfect little flower, and it was very easy to make, and it's very sturdy. And so now that we have the flower on, I'll show you what it looks like dimensionally, and you can see there it's got a nice chunky dimension to it, and it's definitely 3D, and so it gives you a little bit more than just a flat piece of paper. It definitely lends itself to a very artistic feel. And I'm just pointing out here the different places that I have these flowers in this quilling piece. So now that we know how to construct the flower, we're going to move on to the little tiny swirls that you see in this art piece. And I'm just kind of pointing those out with my tweezers just so you can see what we're going to be covering next. What you're going to do is begin with your piece of quilling paper, and you're just going to fold it in half. You're going to roll one section of that forward to the fold, and then the next section backwards to the fold, and that way you will create kind of like an S shape, and you can feel with your thumb when you hit the fold, so you don't really have to worry about that. Again, this second part is just going to go the opposite way that I rolled the first part, creating an S-shape swirl. And this actually is something that I showed in my very first paper quilling video. And so if you haven't seen my paper quilling for beginners video, I would highly suggest that you go back and view that, because I do give you some different ideas for shapes. I also have a playlist with other quilling videos if you're interested in seeing different projects. Now once you have this spiral completed, you do want to kind of work with it with your hands just to make sure that it's a tight curl and that also that little crease in the middle is not showing. And so you can kind of, in essence, iron that out with your fingers, for lack of a better word. And you can see we have a perfect little spiral S, and this glues perfectly onto the little flowers that we just created, and that gives this piece a substantial item to hang on to rather than just being out there kind of weak by itself. And so you can see where you could glue this spiral into the little nooks and crannies of that flower, and that's going to hold up really nice for you, and you can even mail it. So finally we're going to cover these little leaves, and this is actually a lot easier than it looks. It looks very advanced, but all you're going to do is just begin with another strip of your quilling paper. You can make your own quilling paper or you can purchase it, and so I will have links for you below just in case. Once you have this rolled up, you'll just lay it on your surface of your paper and let it kind of unravel on its own to the size that it's going to be. And so once that is completely relaxed, then you can take your glue and glue the end of that paper onto itself, and then that way your shape will be frozen in time, in essence, and it won't move anymore. And so once this is glued, you're ready to form your leaf. So I like to lay this little circle onto my work surface just flat, and I pinch with my index finger and my thumb on the two edges, and I try to make sure that that little circle is in the center, and I just use my tweezers to kind of help adjust that if need be, because it is very tiny, and so the tweezers come in handy. And you just want to pinch that on both ends. It makes kind of a cat eye shape. Again, this is a basic that I've showed in other videos, but we're going to take this a step further, and we're going to use the reverse tweezers to turn this into more of a leaf, I guess you could say, with a little bit of a curl at the top. So using your reverse tweezers, just roll those over the top of your tweezers and hold that in place a moment to let the paper be trained in that direction. And once you have that done, then you just want to use your fingers and kind of finagle the paper to where it's where you want it. And once that looks like how you like it, you can kind of adjust it with your fingers. And that is a very easy way to make a leaf that has a little bit of a curl at the top. And so I'm going to show you on this finished piece that you can glue that into place, attaching it to the flower. And I like to put these leaves here and there on the piece because it does give this piece some movement. It just makes it look more whimsical, and I love the look of these leaves. In fact, that's why I put them on the edge, because I thought it finished it off really well and made a really nice shape for this art piece. So I'm not actually gluing that one into place. I'm just showing you where you would glue it if you were to glue that one down. So here is the finished piece. Now I did want to also give you one more little hint or tip, I guess you could say, and that is, if you so choose, you can paint this piece. I have two examples here. The one on the left, the green one, I did with my DIY alcohol ink spray, and then the one on the right I did with acrylic paint. And to be honest with you, I kind of like the one on the left a little bit better because it's not so thick of paint. I will have the DIY alcohol spray tutorial linked for you, so in case you want to make your own, it's very easy. I would recommend using this ahead of time, and you can make all different colors to color your flowers and your leaves. Then this second piece is done with acrylic paint. This is the Opal Magic, and this is by Prima Marketing Art Alchemy. And so that's what I used on this one, but to be perfectly honest, I think it was a little bit thick, and it kind of covered the little different coils of the quilling, and that's not really what I wanted. So my preference is the thinner paint, which was the alcohol ink spray. And I do have that in different colors that I've made, but I'm just showing you the green because I had it handy and it was within arm's reach. I probably wouldn't actually color my flower green. So here is a look again at the finished product. I decided just to leave mine uncolored, and you can see up close the edges of the paper are somewhat patterned because this paper I used did have a little bit of a pattern. I appreciate you watching. Be sure to check out my suggestions for other quilling videos, and let me know if you would like to see more of these type of videos. Have a wonderful day.